Good morning. Anthony Delmedico, SVG. I'm here in Orlando, Florida, post-Hurricane Irma. And I'm going to go over real quickly how to use the SVG estimating program. It's not just an estimating program, it also creates your work orders and invoices. So let's go over each of the sheets, guys. A lot of guys have questions on how our program works. It's an Excel-based program. It's very easy to use. It's designed to quickly train your salespeople and your managers how to write estimates, create invoices, and create work orders for jobs. Yada, yada, depending on who's using the program. The first most important page, you got a lot of features. So let me just do a run through the pages here real quick. You got your general data price list entry area. This is where you're going to take all your exact pricing for your local line items and just update this pricing. It's defaulted right now to Florida. If you have one of the newer programs, you're going to have Florida pricing. So what you see here is all the Florida line items. Now, if you're in Ohio, Chicago, or whatnot, yes, you will have to change those prices slightly to match your local area. But once you do it once, then that data is saved for all your future estimate writing in the program. Your next most important page is the data entry page. This is where all the information you enter is going to extrapolate through the rest of the program. So this is a very important page. Once you get your price list set, all your blue areas here are going to enter your name, your claim information, your deductible, your ACV, your RCV. You got all your basic drop downs, and I'll come back to and cover each of these pages individually. Your drop downs coming from that price list. And this is where you enter your specs from your roof, from your Eagle View, your iRoofing, yada, yada, yada. So that's our data entry page, which is going to then create our estimate page. And as you're going to see here in a little bit, we're going to go back and we'll be able to write an estimate using Xactimate pricing in roughly 3 to 4 minutes without using Xactimate. So once we load that Xactimate pricing, we're kind of set to do multiple estimate writings in the program. It also has a unique feature, a nice built-in fax cover sheet. When you guys start sending out estimate supplements to adjusters, desk adjusters, you need to itemize what it is you're asking for in a nice typeset fax cover sheet. This one's typeset to a desk adjuster in Florida. For an example, it's a template. You need to change it obviously for your local area and what's applicable on your supplement. The next page, guys, the PPD sheet. This kind of matches up your build contract PPD. What did the RCV start at? What did the salesman upgrade? What is he crediting back on the claim or the project to the property owner? You don't want to do everything, man. You don't want to paint the bird boxes and do every window screen sometimes. So sometimes there's credits back to those homeowners. We're going to come back to this page. This is very important because this populates to your certificate of completion and your customer summary invoice in real time, so you don't have to recreate it later. The next really important sheet besides the PPD then is ultimately our pre-cap. So if you think about it, sell, build, collect, guys, the estimating portion of this and the property spec sheet portion, which is sales and estimating is part one. And then you got your pre-cap. This is where our production manager is going to pick it up, build a pre-cap, and it's going to auto-populate and create your work orders. Very important to pre-cap every job before you start it. So this is our pre-cap. Then your accounts receivable manager can pick up the PPD area to create your certificates of completion, your invoices, or follow up on those supplements on the salesman's behalf, or if you have a sales processor at your office. So guys, now we're here at the pre-cap. This is where the production manager takes over that file. He's going to fill in his cost data and save that macro for labor and materials, so he knows down to the box of nails what his profit margin is before he builds the job, or she. The other cool feature about that pre-cap is once you enter that data in, it's going to auto-populate to your roofer pay sheet. So you have a nice PO for your roofer. So you can tell him what the job's going to be paid out at. And it allows for little miscellaneous items on the bottom. We'll come back to this later. And then we also have the PO sheet for your material order. So this is all about speed, guys. I mean, once you enter that initial data into the blue fields, all this is carried over through all your work orders, your invoice, everything else, so that the different managers can print these work orders out or these invoices out in real time with correct data. So this is our roofer order sheet. We're going to come back and fill this out here later on this job file. And then we also have our gutters, siding, miscellaneous trade order sheet. So if you're doing multiple trades, you got plenty of order sheets that you can see are populated up there, that customer information. And then based on what the salesman contracted, your production manager would use these sheets and then execute the work order with those particular subs. You got several miscellaneous work order sheets for like your copper dormers, special gutter, anything that's not roof siding gutters. If you're doing interior work, so you have several miscellaneous job order sheets for whatever trades you're doing. Hopefully you're not doing too many trades, or you're gonna live with that customer forever. Okay, then we also have, now we're getting to the final collections. We got the built-in lien waiver. Looks, I know a lot of these customers, residential customers, they don't ask for lien waivers, but some do. The smart ones do. Commercial sure does. So you have a built-in lien waiver here for your partial payments and your final payment, and it's actually pulling that contract price that we entered in back in the PPD. So that's kind of nice. If you need it, it's there. And then we got ultimately the final cap. The final cap is how we all get paid. Finally, the salesman's getting paid. That's the final check collection. And this is pulled in the job number, again, the customer information from the first page, that where we entered the data entry, and all your AR manager or whoever's in that QuickBooks that's taking the actual labor and material bills that happened after they assess the final outcome of the job, they enter them in the blue fields here, and hopefully that profit margin beat the pre-cap. That was your guesstimate. This is your final cap, and then ultimately what you use to determine to pay the salesman. All right, guys, let's talk about that price list. Probably the most important thing and a new feature in the SVG estimating program is you can actually load your prices into the data entry point from Xactimate, and also if you're doing retail bids, maybe you don't like Xactimate. So one of the unique things about the SVG program, guys, is, look, some people don't like Xactimate. Sometimes Xactimate hasn't caught up to actual local market pricing to where it should be, especially after large storms. But what you're looking at here is Florida Xactimate pricing loaded in for all the typical items this roofing company here in Orlando is going to run into on hurricane type claims on exteriors. So you got your tiles, your shingles, your flat roofs, all that kind of stuff. Most of you guys are general contractors, roofing contractors doing a lot of exterior trades post hailstorms, tornadoes, hurricanes. So Xactimate's this big. You don't need all that stuff in Xactimate. You probably need like 10% of it for the stuff that you traditionally do as a company. This is loaded in right now for a lot of the exterior stuff. If you find something that's not in here, you can simply change. You see these little miscellaneous roofing items. Let me give you an example. If we had, I came across a new roofing system yesterday. It was a synthetic tile that I'm considering putting on my house. Beva synthetic tile roof. I don't have the actual name of the brand. We'll figure that out later. I know that the quote on it, I know it's expensive. I heard $750 a square, and I know the labor is about $250 a square to put it on. So another unique thing about this price list, guys, not only are we putting our retail or our Xactimate line item in to build our estimate later, you can actually enter your material and labor cost for each of those line items, and that'll auto-populate and build your pre-cap so you know your profit margin later on. That's key. If you do decide, a lot of guys use this just for the estimating portion, but we added this new feature where you can actually add your labor and material. It's something your production manager should do on an ongoing basis. And this changes, but update over time, and then what you're going to see here later today is it actually auto-populates a pre-cap so you know down to a box of nails what your profit margin is. But let's go back because let's focus on the estimate portion. We just added Beva synthetic tile roof. I think I heard they were selling this for $1,500 a square. It's an upgraded product. It's $750 on the is it $750 or $550? I don't remember. We'll have to get it. Let's for sake of training, let's put $550 and then $250 on the labor. Now if we just added that now, so if we go over to because ultimately everything on this price list is going to populate to my drop downs on my data entry. So right now, if we look at that roof line item, there's all my removals from Xactimate loaded in with Xactimate pricing. So as I click on all these different removals, that's Xactimate. That's actually defaulted to Florida. And you can see it's pulling all those different removals up or those installs on every drop down. Now your installs, you got like all these different roofing systems. So, from a training aspect, you got to train your guys just to make sure they're speccing out the right roofing system. But the specs and the pricing is already loaded in here. So, they're not having to learn how to use Xactimate to actually write an estimate. But just to give you an example, if you go down to that Beva synthetic tile, we just added that as a miscellaneous item. It's got a $1,500 resale or retail value. And that's 56. Now that just went up to $56,000 on our estimate. And what happened, that went over now and created a line item on our estimate for Beva synthetic tile roof. You're probably not going to upgrade a 25-year 3-tab to a Beva synthetic tile roof, but I'm just showing you as an example. So guys, we get a lot of questions about the SVG estimated program, like, well, how do I load my pricing? Well, you're going to need at least one Xactimate license, or maybe you have a friend in town, or maybe you have your first 20 job files from your first 20 claims, so that you can actually go in here and adjust the pricing to your local level. Unfortunately, there's not a way to do that with Xactimate yet. I wish it could, then we could auto-populate your pricing into this price list. But again, it is defaulted with Florida pricing, and heck, it's better to be on the high side because Florida is one of the highest priced markets in the country. But you should eventually, you're gonna want to, adapt this pricing to your local area. It is Xactimate drop downs. So guys, another way to quickly update that price list in the SVG estimating program is just look at a recent set of approved insurance paperwork. Because look, Xactimate changes sometimes every month, sometimes every 3 months. Hard to keep up with it all. But here I got a dumpster. It's a 40-yard dumpster at 7 to 8 ton debris for $606. And if I go back to my price list, you notice on my price list here in the SVG program, we have $478. So naturally, what am I going to do as the entrepreneur, the manager, the estimator? I'm going to go ahead and update that price because I caught an increase at $606. And that will carry over to my data entry. So the next time I spec out a dumpster, general conditions, that 606 populated over here. It's also going to populate over to my estimate right here. So it already populated through the thing. So once you make that edit or that increase on your price list, it's going to go ahead and it's going to add that new price to your data entry and ultimately to your estimate where it needs to be. Here's another one I've just noticed, guys, and again, this is a recent set of approved insurance paperwork in Florida. We got to remove and replace roof mount power attic vent at $463.76. And if we look in our database here in the SVG program, we got remove and replace roof mount power attic vent large at $423. So obviously, we want to go with that new price, which is $463.76. When you guys ask, how do I build my price list? Well, it's kind of an ongoing function. I mean, once I change that price, it's changed now forever in the estimating program for your local area. This is something somebody needs to do once a month or once a quarter and just check for price increases. And certainly on the items that you use on a consistent basis, you're going to notice these things popping up on your new improved insurance paperwork and stuff like that. Guys, another line item here I'm just looking at. I'm evaluating a recent tile roof that was approved in Florida. And we have line item 282 there. We got $39.25 to remove the roll roofing. And we have line item 283, we have $63.63, which is a R&R of $102.88 to remove and replace that roll roofing. Now, in Florida, we're going to go with a different underlayment. So we're actually going to supplement that and make that higher. But just to capture that data, since that's new data that's not in my price list, just to show you how quickly we can do it, if we go back to my underlayment area of my price list in the SVG program, and we hit this miscellaneous underlayment, and this is what's cool about this program, guys, is you can actually add things as you find new things, that you're going to run into as a contractor. So I'm going to create an R&R line item there so I have it for the future. I'm not going to use it on this one because we're going to get that code upgrade on that underlayment. But I'm going to go ahead and write that price in case I run across it again in a place where we would do an R&R of roll roofing, although it's not a favorite thing to do. There's better materials out there. So that's $102.88 as an R&R price. And I can also go ahead and do we'll throw a remove 90-pound rolled roofing as an underlayment. I had 30, and it's actually been an increase here in Florida. That's $39.25 to remove. So I'm capturing that new price. And if I want to just have my replace, so I have that separately, although I highly doubt we would ever go back with 90-pound rolled roofing. But just so I have the price, I enter in my 63.13 because it might come up again. And now it's there and it's loaded and it's in my underlayment section. So the next time when I'm doing my data entry and I'm building my estimate, if we go to underlayment, we get two different underlayment options here on our data entry page. You're going to see there's my replace 90 pound, there's my remove and replace, there's my remove 90 pound. So if we just got removal, even if we upgraded, now I actually have the removal price, which you see is $39.25. So it's, you know, it's an ever constant building to create the best estimating program you can with drop downs of the stuff that you typically use. So guys, just to sum it up, the price list, which is really the first most important thing you utilize in the SVG estimating program to make sure your prices for your local areas are up to date. Right now we got, you know, ridge vents, roof, steep chart, all that typical exterior trade stuff. You're going to see as I scroll through here, gutters, siding fascia, building codes, skylights, miscellaneous trades, all these places where you see these miscellaneous. This allows you to add new line items, okay, if you choose to build your estimate later on. So guys, just let me show you how quick. Let's say that you're not doing an insurance claim and you want to build a couple line items in here for retail, and you just want to make it simple and easy for you guys to create an estimate. You can also write remove and replace. Maybe it's a 25-year 3-tab. And we call it retail. And then let's just say we have a $500 a square for a retail. Now that line item is going to be built in back at my data entry, my estimate page, in a drop down. So for you guys that aren't doing insurance claims, you can build retail estimates too, and you guys can actually switch back and forth. And if we go down here at the bottom, you're going to see my new retail price. Obviously, you're not going to use 500 as a line item, but you guys get the point. You got to remove and replace 25-year 3-tab. And you literally can have your retail line items in here, or your commercial pricing and your exactment all in the same program and go back and forth. So guys, now that we have our price list at least 90-95% correct with Xactimate line items for our local area, maybe we added some retail roofing rates from our price list. Keep in mind, I want to reiterate, all this information is carrying over to our data entry page. This is really the key page now to build all your, you know, your work orders, your invoices, and your estimate, which is the fun part. So to reiterate, you know, what just happened, all these drop downs are Xactimate from our price list with the pricing built in. So for example, if my roofing system is a modified bitumen, I click on this, my Xactimate price pops up there at $374.42 a square, or tear off. So you guys do the math. It's just like Xactimate, but it's easier to train guys to use this because they don't have to learn how to actually get an Xactimate and create macros from scratch and all that stuff. You as the owners, managers, and leaders can actually set this up, this template, so they basically got to come in, grab their Eagle View, enter the actual squares. Like let's say this job here is 100 squares. That's pretty quick to do. Maybe it's 15% waste. I'm looking at my Eagle View. Maybe it's, you know, maybe it's 300 on the hips for my Eagle View on my next job, 50 on the ridges, yada, yada, yada. All those specs now are carrying down here. You just got to double check and make sure that you have the right roofing system spec'd out, obviously the right vents, the right valleys, the right style. It's a quick process now to create an estimate. And if I click over to my estimate page, all that information carried over in real time. All right, guys, let's take a look at that estimating page, which is the end result of our data entry page. That's right here. A couple key features. One is, as you noticed, all our name, our customer information, our adjuster information automatically carried over from the data entry page. All of our Xactimate line items, as we did our drop downs, carried over. We also got our general contractor overhead profit, which is defaulting on all of them, because back here in our data entry page, we put our 10 and 10 up here in, so it defaults on every estimate. So that's going to pull up down here. We got our sales tax in there, which again came from our data entry page back here. So once you set these up, guys, they just quickly create your estimates. If you're doing labor minimums, a lot of insurance companies have labor minimums on those Xactimates. You can match those up. Guys, when your sales guys are dealing with your estimators, dealing with all those kind of ancillary non-roof trades like screen enclosures, custom copper gutters, window screens even, you know, instead of trying to measure that out, estimate that in Xactimate, which can be a nightmare if sales guys aren't trained on it, what I like to do and train guys, how I used to do it, is I would go ahead and enter those as a $1 bid item, sub bid. And how they show up on that estimate page down here is they say sub bid, Remove and replace screen enclosure, $1. Remove and replace copper dormer, $1. Now, what's going to happen is this: I'm going to bring this estimate to the adjuster, or I'm going to send this in right after the adjustment to the desk adjuster. Because what I want them to know is I'm already coordinating subcontractors. I'm already acting as a general contractor before the job's even started. Now, in that time, I'm also trying to figure out which of these trades the homeowner actually wants to do. A lot of times they don't want to do these, or we credit them back to that property owner and get the roof done. Look, if you're not going to do them, it doesn't make a lot of sense to spend hours on the inside of a house measuring a floor and actually getting sub bids to override the exactament, unless you're actually doing the work, right? So by putting it in there on your prime estimate to begin with, we're showing that we're acting as a general contractor, and we're also remembering that those trades are part of our scope of damage. Typically, the adjuster, when he goes there, he's going to measure the inside and do all that kind of stuff, and he's going to put this kind of stuff in Xactimate. But let's take that copper dormer, for example. If we write that in Xactimate, we know those copper dormers are going to be off. Usually, they're less than half of what they're supposed to be. Unless you're actually doing the work, you're not actually going to go out and get a sub bid from a copper guy to override that Xactimate. So if you're not doing the work, guys, the copper dormer, you know, they might get $1,700 or $2,300 or $2,500 in Xactimate for that copper dormer. If you're going to credit it back to the property owner, there's no sense in getting the sub bid. You'd only do that if you actually do the work. But what this does, it allows the salesperson, because this is all about training and speed, guys. How quickly can I write this estimate to get in a desk adjuster's hands before I start the roofing project? Because that's when a supplement should really go out. I can write this now in 5 minutes, and instead of creating 30 pages, I have a 1-page estimate. Now, their adjuster is going to go write all these things in Xactimate. He's going to have his 30-page estimate. And then what I need to figure out is which of these ancillary trades is the homeowner actually wanting me to do? Which ones do I want to do? Hopefully, I'm crediting some of these things back and taking the roof and the overhead and profit. So, guys, how I added those bid items to the estimate is, again, back right here on our data entry page. Remove and replace screen enclosure, remove and replace copper dormer, $1. And it's showing up here for $1. Now, in that time, if the property says, yeah, Anthony, you're going to do the roof, we really, really want to get that copper dormer done, we want that new copper, we want those copper gutters, now I'm going to go get my sub bids. And the sub bids for that type of work is probably going to be higher than Xactimate, in which case I'll send these in later as a supplement, probably during the roofing project itself. But what it lets that desk adjuster know is a couple things. One is that there's damage on those areas. Hopefully the field adjuster already wrote them. And two is, if the property owner is going to actually contract you to do that work, then you need to go actually get the sub bid, which is going to override the Xactimate line item, which is typically low on some of these ancillary trades or custom work, and override the Xactimate line item. So to summarize how to use those sub bid items, guys, on the estimate page is, if you know it's damaged, write them in. If you don't have time to write the whole scope and estimate for hardwood floors, carpet, interior, write them in for $1 bid item. That way the adjuster, the field adjuster, the desk adjuster knows that you're aware of it, knows there's a scope of damage. They're going to write their loss report on it. And if you actually end up contracting that work, guys, then you need to go get a subcontractor bid to override that Xactimate line item price. But I am doing the copper dormer and I am doing the custom gutters. So that tells me, you know, after we get the basic adjustment done, now I'm going to need to get those sub bids from those two guys, attach that back to my prime estimate, and I'm showing before I even start that job that now I'm acting and conducting like a general contractor, which ultimately is earning my 20%. So guys, if I attach this prime estimate with 2 sub bids for copper dormers and copper gutters and power washing, I'm already acting as a general contractor before I start that job. If you really want to get that overhead and profit approved, you need to send in this estimate with a couple sub bids. You need to send in after you collect the check and before you start the roof. So guys, now the AR manager, whoever's entering this job file, the deposits and all that into QuickBooks, he takes over this area. So we got our total claim. This is a total RCB at $26,000. Our first ACV payments at $15,000. We got to enter our payment over here. We enter our deductible, and then there's always is there any upgrades? So we go to the bottom of the data entry. That number populated down here from our data entry up top. If the sales guy upgraded, in some case they might upgrade. This one here upgraded to a presidential certainty for $2,500, but they decided not to do the copper dormer and not to do the screen enclosure. So you got $3,500 for the copper dormer. We're backing that out of our contract. We're backing out the $2,700. Our price is $22,000. Now that would take a whole of 30 seconds to enter that data from the salesman's contract and the insurance paperwork by that AR manager. And what that's doing in real time now is it's auto-populating to my certificate of completion. You can see there my 26,000. You can see my supplement, my ACV and my deductible. So that's what I'm going to send to the insurance company to release that money and get paid when that roofing job's done. And it's also auto-populating my customer summary invoice. So you can see here it carried all the data over, claim number, homeowner name. We got 26,000, supplement of 32, customer upgrades, less prior payments, and there's our credits. Our credit backs to the homeowner. Homeowner owes us $10,550. It's also got some nice language on there to motivate your customers to pay you faster. So that data you entered on your PPD for your customer payments, your deductibles, all that, auto-populated to the certificate of completion. This is a form you should send in to the insurance company when you're done with the job. And so you see here, there's my RCV, there's my supplement, there's my ACV payment. Please release depreciation and supplements as we have completed work on this project. This is all you need to send in, guys. You don't need to send line item invoices in. And some guys ask, hey, do I have to have this signed? There might be one or two insurance companies that require a certificate of completion signed, but in the 15, 16 years I've been doing this, we use this simple form to release depreciation. Another important point, guys, is to send this form out when you're about 90% done with that roof. If you wait till 3 weeks, 4 weeks, a month after the roof to send this form out, that's gonna be another 2 months before you get paid. So sending these out quickly when you're sure there's no further supplements, there's no more code issues on a roof that you're gonna run into, is gonna allow you to get paid quicker by your customer when you get these COCs out to the insurance carrier. So again, guys, that information we entered on the data entry page, what we call the PPD, also auto-populated to our customer summary invoice. We got our name, we got our insurance claim info, and it takes time later on to recreate all these invoices. This program does it for you. So when you turn in a job file, this program is going to auto-create your COC and your customer summary invoice simultaneously, so you don't have to redo it later. There's also some cool comments here, guys, if you read. These are what I used to put on my invoices. It's one thing to get an invoice in the mail. It's another to get an invoice like this in the mail that has positive and negative reinforcement to encourage your customers to pay you faster. So you see here, number one, customer paying balance in full within 14 days of last trade being complete will receive a 1% discount. Look, if you don't want to do that, you can delete it. But if you get somebody whipping out their black card to pay off a $10,000 or $20,000 balance so they can be eligible for a $300 or $400 discount, that behooves you on cash flow. Number two, balances unpaid after 45 days of last trades being complete are subject to interest and administrative lien on a property. That's letting your homeowner know as soon as they get that invoice that you're serious about getting paid. Maximum allowable retainage is 5% of contract price or estimated cost of repair or punch out, whichever is lesser. If you're using SVG build contracts, you already know that retainage is on your pre-start checklist, initialed by your customer, and in the back of your prime contract. If you're not, you need to get a set of SVG build contracts. So what does retainage mean, guys? A lot of times the customers get that first invoice in the mail, all of a sudden they got the popped tire, the dented gutter, the crease in the window, and they don't want to pay you that $10,550 until you fix all these punch out items. Look, you're going to fix the items, but it's customary in construction to have retainage. So if you have a simple policy of 5% retainage, that means that they can hold 5% of $26,000, which is roughly $1,300, but they still got to pay you your remaining balance of your contract. Guys, you're running a business. You can't let your customers hold $15,000, $20,000, $30,000 when you have a dented gutter or a crack in the driveway. Use retainage and your cash flow will improve greatly. And guys, by having these kind of things in the invoice, when they first open up that mail and get this invoice or your salesman drops it off, again, they know you're serious about getting paid. When your customers know you're serious about getting paid, you're going to get paid faster. Number four, warranties are not valid unless entire balance is paid in full. Look, guys, let those customers know if the balance isn't paid in full, you're not coming back to fix any leaks or punch out later on. So they have to be compliant to your contract for you to be compliant to theirs. Number five, because a lot of times you get supplements during the job, things change, there's cost increases. There might have been a rotten decking where you had a change order signed. Hopefully you're signing those change orders. Your final balance may be higher than the original contract price due to supplements approved by your insurance carrier during the course of the project. Per your original contract, any supplements, if approved and paid by the carrier, will be paid to contractor. So sometimes people are a little surprised if you get a supplement on a job or they forgot they had a change order for bad decking. And their prices, could be a couple $1,000s higher, sometimes several $1,000s higher on the final invoice. Guys, to sum it up, by having an invoice that has positive and negative reinforcement for that customer to pay you faster, is going to increase your cash flow and get your jobs paid faster. This is why we call the program Sell, Build, Collect. So we've seen how it's used to write estimates. We've seen how it can quickly create invoices. Now you can see where the production manager takes over. Guys, this is the SVG pre-cap. Guys, so the pre-cap determines the profit of your job before you build it, down to a box of nails. You guys should be doing this in all your jobs. Your production manager should be before they build them. So where does this data come from? Well, the name, again, came way back from our data entry. Remember I told you all that data carries over. And when you entered your contract price, your credit backs, all that good stuff, that information carried over to our contract price, okay? That 15%, that's your overhead. Hopefully you guys are charging some overhead. Where'd that come from? Again, we're setting our overhead allocation back here. Maybe you're at 10%. Okay, once you set that in place for your company, it's gonna be built into the pre-cap. You should be pre-capping your jobs with an overhead allocation. Now you got your cost data. So some of these specs here are actually being pulled in from your estimate sheet. Some of them your production manager needs to be counterintuitive and set these himself or herself. So when you get that first material order, for example, for a 3-tab or an architectural, your production manager should take the time to enter those individual line items. They only need to do it once to create the macro. And then you'll know the next time you do an architectural, the next time you do a 3-tab, the next time you do a cedar shake, the next time you do a tile roof, you'll know that if you're doing tile, your labor's at $250. So you want to save that macro for your tile, for all your labor, your materials. And now you know down to a box of nails what your profit margin. So this one's pre-capping at 49%. If your salesman's at 50, we used to staple these inside of the job file. You know, salespeople were motivated to look at their expected commission. Now in this miscellaneous trades area, guys, you know, while you're waiting to get those bids, once you get those actual bids from your subs, your production manager go in here and write the actual cost, which of course is going to change your pre-cap. So if we have, if one of our miscellaneous bids, let's say our screen enclosure came back for $1,200, actually that's going to drop our profit margin, right? See how that dropped? If our copper dormer comes in at $3,200, my profit margin, so it's showing my profit margin drop because that one was a little higher, and now my copper gutters are coming in and say they're $6,000. Now I'm down to 14%, but that's where your supplements come in. So if your bids are coming in, hopefully you're back supplementing for your sub bid overrides, your overhead and profit. So when you get that actual supplement approved, this is the other thing, you can do a running pre-cap. So let's say you get that supplement approved for another $9,000 based on some of those sub bids. I enter it back in my data entry page, approved. That is going to populate and show my new running pre-cap. Now I'm back to 27%. So again, to do a running pre-cap, you can actually gauge your profit margin and your new adjusted profit margin as your sub-bid items come in and as you're getting approved supplements based on those sub-bid items from the insurance company. And now we know we're looking okay at 27%. I think it should be a little higher personally. Okay, your job number, the guys there, 1001, where's that coming? Again, everything's coming from that data entry page. So when that production manager takes this over, you know, if it's 1005, 1001, yada, yada, that's going to populate back to my pre-cap. So it's changed to 1005. You really should be gauging that production manager ability to create a pre-cap, control the labor and material costs, and run the job in a profitable manner. Guys, another cool feature about the pre-cap, once your production manager enters this information, he doesn't have to recreate work orders and roofer pay sheets and POs. There's my roofer pay sheet. Again, all my customer information carried over from my initial data entry. What my production manager entered in for my labor rates. I've already created my PO in nanoseconds, actually real time, for my roofer. So guys, a roofer pay sheet is just a nice sheet to print out, give to your roofer or your subcontractor before they start work so they know the price. Nobody's getting shocked later on. You can also write your production manager can write some job-specific instructions down here, and you can literally use this as a PO to your roofer or subcontractor. So guys, let's take a look at the roof order sheet. Where's this information coming from? Well, it's auto-populated from that initial data entry point for your name, your production manager job numbers thrown up here, your salesman. All your specs from your pre-cap auto-populated to your roof order sheet. So now you're ordering a job based on a pre-cap to really control that profit margin. Now your production manager is still going to have to enter in the colors, the specs, but if you typically order the same type of architecturals, your same brands, your same different tile brands, once you load that data, you're never going to have to do it again because it's saved in your macro. Guys, the program also has all your other work orders for like your siding. This is a nice siding takeoff sheet. You can give to your sider to go do a proper spec assessment for siding, because you know the sales guys aren't going to do it right. There's your siding PO sheet. Again, all this data is populated from the pre-cap and from the initial data entry point. You got your miscellaneous purchase orders. You know, let's say we're doing that copper dormer. Remove and replace. So again, it's just a nice quick way for your production manager to print out work orders to finish the project. Copper dormer. Let's say you're getting $3,200 from the insurance company. Maybe you do a quick do not exceed. You want to make 30% on that, so hopefully you're telling him not to exceed like $2,700. And you're really giving some direction to that sub as to where he needs to be on price. And I can print that out and give that to my copper sub, miscellaneous trade order. So guys, here's our final cap. This is where we all want to be when this job's done. Job's collected, hopefully the job's profitable. Salesman gets paid on the back end, on the back check coming in. So let's take a look at the final cap, guys. Today's date. So this is really what your AR manager, probably the person doing your accounts payable or your AR, maybe it's someone that does both. Whoever's operating your QuickBooks just now goes in and really enters the final bills. So the final material bill, $9,500. The final roofer bill, $8,800. And now she can do a quick we call it not, it's no longer a pre-cap, it's a final cap, and she can do a quick final cap out of QuickBooks in this simple spreadsheet. She's going to enter in your notice of commencements, permits. So these are our actual costs. You notice our profit margin here, guys, is 42%. Let's go back and see how our production manager did, because your production manager should be beating the pre-cap, and you should be gauging his productivity on able to meet or beat the pre-cap to control your profit margins. So if we go back to that pre-cap real quick, let's see how he did or she did. We pre-capped this at 27%. Remember those supplements? Supplements must have came in. Or maybe the production manager really controlled the labor and material on this one. And it final capped at, more likely based on that supplement, it final capped at 42%. That's a good job, decent job. This salesman's at 30%, maybe he's a 50%. This salesman's a 50%er. He had a $3,200 draw. So when you issue that final check, that we call it a final cap to the salesman, usually we send a final cap notice. As an owner, I like to see the high net profit margins or the high gross profit margins. I know a lot of you guys are final capping jobs. If you're not, you need to be. You need to know what those profit margins are. I would think your salespeople would want to see the final cap, the final collection on those jobs to know what their commission is, and really start gauging that production department, your supplement department on did they meet or exceed the pre-cap. Guys, this is what's great, is we're not recreating the wheel for all these forms. All this information is coming from where you initially entered your data. But all that data is there, guys. Really, it takes 3 to 5 minutes for that person running your QuickBooks to pull the actual material bill on that job, the P&L, right in a final cap, and you have a nice, easy form to understand and look at to see what your profit margins are and pay out that sales associate.